Once upon a time, there was Princess. Her hair was golden white like ivory, her skin soft smooth like whipped chocolate, her eyes sparkling like crystal diamonds and her lips sweet as honey. She lied in her bed of water, deep beneath surface of ocean turquoise sea. She rested, waited. She took her story into endlessness of emptiness. Yet her heart and soul never died. Now that technology is advanced enough to collect signals of dead, her living ghost's voice can finally be heard and her story can be told.
This is my story. I was deeply in love with the love of my life, obviously, because he was my first love, and I died before I had the chance to maybe find love again. He was a prince, and he was charming as only a charming prince could be. When my castle was falling apart and he rescued me, I fell for him right there and then. But he didn't see me the way I saw him. So to get his attention, I wrote him a love song. I sat underneath his window and sang,
Prince, oh, I love you. Prince, my prince, oh, I love you.
but his window didn't open and his reflection disappeared. Maybe my singing made my voice change dramatically and he found it less attractive. Then it got me. Hadn't I heard that my way of putting sounds and words together wasn't the only fashion of doing so? Other tongues were able to do it differently. My dad used to say something called French was the tongue in which to woo a lady. Maybe this would be more romantic than a tune? My wise teacher confirmed my presumption and I learnt a very important French phrase off by heart. As the prince's guards wouldn't let me into his palace to face him and tell him my love, I sent a pair to his window to repeat my words. I waited for weeks but the prince wouldn't come. Maybe he didn't know French after all and didn't have translators or dictionaries. Then technology advanced and the telephone allowed me to have the prince as close as possible at that time. On the phone, I declared him my love again. Fair prince, this heart doth tremble and flutter with every beat for thee and thee alone. Wouldst thou but respond, and permit me to make thee privy to my innermost passions, thy passions may thus be like enflamed. I couldn't understand what he was saying back, his voice was all muffled. Technology and miscommunication go hand in hand. If we just had Skype back then, I would have had some visual cues to at least see, if not hear what he was thinking. The call ended in me shedding tears. The development of the internet finally allowed me to web stalk the prince and I found out that he was from Germany and only here on summer vacation, which explained the communication problems. He only spoke the tongue of Germans, and had not been educated much in general, because his parents preferred spending their money on stuff. Since I was rich and smart, and had the resources and the teacher to do so, I studied really hard and learned his tongue. After all, the saying goes, obviously, his head hadn't been able to interpret English, so hopefully it would do so with the German tongue, and get the message to his heart too. After years I finally gave up studying, hoping that my A2 level would be good enough. The prince had returned to Germany but Skype had finally been invented, and nothing was holding me back from trying to establish a long-distance relationship. Mein liebster Prinz, who hast du mich? Ich lieb dich. He looked at me with confused, sad eyes, and then Skype cut out. I hate technology. Admittedly, without it you wouldn't be hearing my story now, but still, it has its flaws as you can hear. Apparently, the prince still couldn't understand me. Maybe my accent was too strong, or he spoke a different dialect of German that I, obviously, hadn't learned. So I wrote him a love letter, in as many different writing systems I could come up with, to make sure that he would be able to read at least one of them. I knew it would be hard to get the meaning across without visual cues and intonation, so I calligraphed it as nicely as I could, so that if he knew graphology he'd also be able to read out my amazing personality. In case he couldn't read, I also wrote him a note using symbols. As he was far away, and I didn't want to face him again, because I was scared of being turned down once more anyway, I posted the letter and also sent him an electronic version, to make sure he got it somehow. I waited. Days. Weeks. Months. Apart from my looks that didn't seem to attract him, tongue was all I had to draw his attention to me, yet never before, when needed so badly, had I ever had nothing but troubles with it. It was hopeless, I was hopeless and desperate, so one day, I jumped into the sea to let my tears become one with the ocean of sadness. My ghost awoke and rose back, to land to watch over my beloved prince. He was sitting in his room, my letter pinned on a board before his eyes and heaps of books spread out on his table. I was just a little confused. One day he set off for a long journey, as it turned out, to my castle. My dearest, grieving father welcomed him.
I am finally ready to ask for the hand of your daughter. I have studied English more than a year long. I was at first sight, when I rescued her, fallen in love with your daughter. But felt I myself not worthy, I was embarrassed of myself. Now have I finally proven myself that I am not stupid, and I want the princess to my bride.
I couldn't believe what I had just heard. How could he have been so proud? It didn't matter what education he hadn't received. Love conquers all. And how could I have been so impatient? I couldn't forgive myself. I had to wait for society to become advanced enough to allow me to tell my story, because everyone out there has to know, don't give up on your dreams and fight for them. Believe in yourself. And know your tongue, or better even, know many tongues to connect with others. Side note, and really, do not commit suicide because of unrequited love. Now that I've told my story and you can learn from it, I am finally in peace and can drift off into heaven, where my prince is hopefully still waiting for me.
After we heard ghost message, we needed physical evidence before publishing. Princess was found in Pacific. Very less small than us, that indicates she lived very many years before. Book with story until her death there too, but in reverse order and missing details. May Princess rest in peace now that she relieved her mind off story.